In this video, we're going to be working on the second structure. We're going to be adding some curtain wall components, and we'll work on the wall section detail for the curtain wall. So I'm going to go to my floor plans to level 1. And from here, I'm going to start constructing the curtain wall. I'll build the first one on this wall right here. So I'm going to go to architecture to wall, and from the list here, I'll scroll down till I get to curtain wall. Click on curtain wall, and I'll go ahead and begin placing it. Now, at the moment, I'm going to begin by going from column grid intersection to column grid intersection at the bottom here. So I'm just using the pan tool, and I'll snap right there. Okay, so now there should be a curtain wall assembly that's there. If you click there, you should see that it appears in the properties window. All right, now from here, I'm going to start working I'm going to generate a new section just sort of temporarily. So if I click on section here and I go from here to here, I want to be looking towards the east, and then I'm going to double click on that section. Let me go back momentarily. One thing you'll may want to make note of is when I click on this section, the window is extending all the way to over here, and so I'm going to pull it back so it doesn't show. Maybe I'll just bring it slightly past column line 6, so it's not going to show anything beyond there. And then I'm going to double click here. All right, now there is the curtain wall boundary, and I'll go through in quite detail about why we're going to be doing what I'm going to be doing next. But basically what we want is to change the boundary so that the mullions are in the right place. So I'll start by clicking on the curtain wall and then go to edit detail. Now, I was working off level 1, and so it placed it directly on that level 1 datum. So I'm going to click on that lower line, and I'm going to move this up 1 inch. And I can remove the constraints as I do this. It's okay. And at the top, I'm going to click on that upper border, and I'm going to move it. Actually, let me check and see what is it right now. It's at 3 feet. I want to move it down 18 inches or 1 foot 6 inches. Same thing, you can remove the constraints. Okay, now for the moment, I'm going to hit the check mark. Okay, now I'll also make some revisions to the width, but I just want to kind of make sure that's looking okay before I proceed with that. Okay, now I'm going to click on that curtain wall again, and I'm editing the profile again, and this time I'm going to adjust the left and right boundary lines. I'm going to move them over 6 inches. Remove constraints, and same thing over here. Move this over 6 inches. And then I'll hit the check mark. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is add the grid lines where the mullions are going to be. So just clicking on some of these. So we're seeing some of the components beyond, and that's fine for now. But just, you want to kind of keep track of those lines versus the ones that you're going to be adding. So next I will go to the curtain grid, and I will begin to construct some lines. So go ahead and click right there. Okay, now press escape. And when I click on this line, okay, so I think what I want to do, because I just selected that and it chose the wide flange beam, is I'm going to go to a finer detail so that some of those things appear more clearly. Now, I think my grid line did not happen there. So I'm going to construct a new one. Okay, so I think actually I'm going to turn it back into that coarse detail level because it's become a little bit too much in terms of a line weight. So curtain grid. Now, I had originally wanted to put one in the middle here, but I think it will be easier if I place the ones I'm actually going to put in their permanent position. So this one that I just made, you can see down here, it says 6 inches. That's where I want that to be. Okay, so I have one curtain grid. If I click on that line, and you can do this too, to check and make sure it says curtain wall grids. Okay, so I'm going to click on this one now and I'll start to make some copies. So I'm going to make a copy that's 1 foot over right now. So basically what I'm doing is I'm setting up this grid to permit me to have what's called spandrel panels. So these spandrel panels are going to be basically covering anywhere where there is something behind. So in this case, I've got a steel beam that's running along column line C, and the glass that I put in this zone right here, I want it to be opaque so that I can't see that. Right now, I'll have spandrel glass here along C, along B, and along D, but I'll also have some horizontally where the floor and roof assemblies are. All right, so now I'm going to put the modules in for the vision glass. So there's spandrel glass, which basically conceals something behind, and there's vision glass, which has some degree of transparency and you can basically see through it. I'm going to copy, and my copies are going to be 4 feet over each of them, 4 feet. And I'll just keep marching along here, 4 feet, until I have them all the way to the corner. It's really, you can make some changes to the locations of mullions, but it's much easier to get your grid all set up before you bring in the mullions. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing over in this direction using the copy tool, and I'm going to just place these column grid lines. Until I get to the corner. One more. Okay, that's all the verticals. And next, what I'll do is I'll add some horizontal ones. Okay, so up over here in the corner, I'm going to hit curtain grid, and I'll hover over that top level datum, and then I'm going to bring down my cursor a little bit. I want this one to be 2 feet 2 inches below the column or the level here. So I may need to place it and then move it. Let's see. Did it generate one? No, it didn't. Okay, let's do this again. So I'm hovering over towards the left here. I think what I'll do, there it goes. Okay, now I'm seeing it relative to that datum line. So 2 feet 2 inches below. Okay, now I'll continue making these. Now this top one, or the one at what's level 2, I want that one to be a foot above level 2 datum. So let me go ahead and just place it there, and I'm going to have to move it. And let's see here. Click on it. Let's measure it. from here to the datum here, 1'1". I want it to be 1 foot. So I'm going to move it down 1 inch. Okay, and I'll continue making these curtain grid. And I'm going to place it. And then I'm going to have to move it. Let's see here, click. And I'll explain exactly why I'm putting it where I am. So that's 2 feet 2 inches also relative to level 2. Okay, and I'm going to add one more that is above bottom here. And that one is also going to be 1 foot relative to, it doesn't matter whether it's the bottom here or this right here. You won't really notice the difference there. Okay, so now I have the full grid set up, and the next step will be to bring in some mullions. Okay, so what I do here is click on mullion, and I'm going to need to place one at every one of these lines that I've created, and also at the perimeter. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and here, and then at the top. And I'll also go around and add them for all of the verticals. Let me again. Volume. See why it's not generating them, I'm not sure. Okay, so I added a few more, and I don't know why it's having problems with those selections, but basically, if you tab through them, you know, if you hover over it, it doesn't highlight in blue, hit the tab key, and you can then add them. Okay, so that should be all of the mullions that I need for my curtain wall.